I love that intro, Adam. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunday edition of NBA Live, the Daylight Savings edition of NBA Live here at FTNDaily.com. My name is Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawhisenberg DFS, alongside my good buddy, my partner in dream streaming, my co-host on the FTN NBA podcast, the biggest Cavs fan that I know. It's Adam Pfeifer. Adam, how you doing?
I'm good. I struggling today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just I'm at that, it's mid-March, so I'm trying to I'm going back and forth between football, NFL draft stuff, basketball, but there's worse things I could be worried about for sure. So I'm doing good.
Well, that's good to hear, man. And I think we'll be doing good after tonight's slate. I like this slate a lot. Couple places I think we can attack, especially in tournaments, attack some of the ownership projections around the industry, and hopefully get some leverage. 5-game slate here on this Sunday. A little bit of a late start to the stream, so we apologize to the premium subscribers for the delay, but we will get through this 5-game slate, no problem. We will go game by game. And Adam, I'm glad to see that the Uncle Rico nickname catching on in the chat. So yeah, throwing a football over the mountains. And, I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and get, it is the away kit from last year, HB Cards, from my beloved Austin FC. Took an L last night up in Portland, 1-0. Adam, 90 minutes of soccer, 1 shot on target from the 2 teams combined. It was a barn burner out there in Portland. All right, first game up, only game going at lock. Obviously, lock a little bit earlier. So, early lock. Daylight savings. Things could be all over the place here for the field. But again, only this single game here at 6 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia going out to Orlando to take on the Magic. No surprises that the Sixers are massive 11-point road favorites here. 223.5 implied total in this game. Let's go ahead and start with the visitors, the Sixers. I know the Philly contingent in chat probably doesn't want to talk about this, but the last time we saw this team, they were getting their butts whipped by the Brooklyn Nets. So I personally think that Embiid, Harden, and the rest of these guys are going to come out with a statement to make tonight, wanting to rebound after that tough loss that they took at home the other night, and hardly a better matchup in the NBA to do something like that than the Magic. So for me, Adam, it's fine to get to Embiid or Harden, but they're not my favorite spend-ups on the slate. And obviously, we'll get into some of the other spend-ups as we go here. But how are you looking at the Sixers here as they look to bounce back?
Yeah, obviously Embiid at 12K, it's a lot. But, you look at the matchup, Orlando has been a bottom-tier post-up defense for pretty much most of the season. Right now, looking at the numbers, they are tied with the Nets, and that obviously will change once today's game is updated, but 5.5 post-up points per game allowed is bottom 7 in basketball, bottom 5 in post-up points per possession allowed, so obviously sets up extremely well for Joel Embiid. James Harden, we've talked about his assist rate since joining this team. Shot awful from the field last game, 3 of 17. Don't expect that to continue. Yeah, they're obviously all Maxey at 7K is probably priced around his ceiling, despite how good he is and how good he's played. It's still not like he has insane usage alongside Harden. The assists are not there alongside Harden. So Maxey and of course Tobias Harris, who just doesn't do anything anymore. They would be the 2 players I still wouldn't have much interest in. Although maybe it could be a Tobias game. He's been spotting up more alongside Harden. The Magic have been the worst spot up defense, but really this team isn't, it's Embiid and it's Harden, and then you have to kind of hope you get an outlier game from Tobias Harris at this point.
Yeah, I don't think that, man, if I was running my 20 lineups today, I may have a share or 2 at most of a guy like Tobias Harris or Tyrese Maxey, but neither of those guys really interesting to me. after those top four, you jump down to all sub 4K plays on DraftKings, and the names aren't pretty. Georges Niang, DeAndre Jordan, Matisse Thybulle.
He would be the one, Niang, just because that's been
Okay.
his role, spotting up on this team. He's been really productive for them as a 3-point shooter, and it's obviously a smaller slate.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, he gets to 20 to 25 minutes. He played 22 last game, obviously, or 23 last game. Obviously, that game blew out, but
Mm-hmm.
in closer games, he's still been playing right around 23 or so, and at 3,600 on DraftKings, he could get hot from three in this game against an Orlando team. Not only do they allow the most points per possession to spot up shooters at 1.07, they also allow 41.5% field goal percentage. That's the highest in the league, and I believe, I can double check, but a huge percentage of the points that this team allows do come from either the post or from three. So we talked about, obviously, how Embiid can do everything, but mainly posting up. That bodes well for him. And then in terms of 3-point percentage, or percentage of points allowed from three, Orlando they've actually climbed a little bit lower, but I don't know how you can climb lower. That makes no sense. 34.8%, so still bottom 10 in the league.
Yeah, I think out of those value guys, it's Niang or Shake Milton for me. I thought the interesting thing about looking at the rotations from that Brooklyn Philly game was that Doc only ran 8 guys in the first half. No Korkmaz, no Paul Reed, Isaiah Joe, some of the guys that cleaned up the fourth quarter there.
Even with Danny Green out, too.
Yeah, exactly. So if this game remains close, right, which again, it's supposed to be a double-digit margin in terms of the implied spread here. But if this game's in contention into the third quarter, if we only see 8 guys in this rotation, that does boost up a guy like Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, both of them playing 28.5 minutes through 3 quarters last time out. So if you're looking for a reason to take a shot on some of those guys, I think the condensed rotation is the logic there. But I think overall, I may have the most interest in somebody from the other side of this game. Adam, not trying to diminish the upside of a James Harden or Joel Embiid, but at the same position as Embiid, looking to the Magic side, Mo Bamba, who was questionable, already confirmed in and starting. The case is the same, I should say, with Jalen Suggs, was questionable, confirmed in and starting here. And this is just a case of what is a small sample size, to be sure, but in a single regular season, this is pretty much the largest sample size of minutes and games that you can get. These teams have already met 3 times, and Mo Bamba, I know anybody who's been in chat the last hour has seen me popping off about Mo Bamba, but in the 3 games against Philadelphia this season, he's played 92.5 minutes, Adam, 135 and a quarter DK points. That's 1.46 DK points per minute.
40 points per game?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I can pull up the 3 games specifically here. Obviously, the price is up on DK, 5.9. But because of that, he's not picking up any ownership. So what I said in chat, I'll reiterate it here. If I was running my 20 lineups in GPPs tonight, I would have about 30% Mo Bamba on DraftKings. The 3 games against Philly this year. Again, Embiid has played all 3. Wendell Carter Jr. did set out one of those 3. And to Herm's point in chat earlier, he was kind of pointing out the different pieces of variance that popped up in those 3 games. One of the games, Mo Bamba had 6 blocks. One of the games, I believe,
7 of 8 from 3.
Yeah, he started off just so hot.
He shot 7 of 8 from 3 in the last game they played.
Yeah, but there's no
He is shooting a lot of threes though for
Sure.
a center. He's shooting I think he shot 8 last game.
Sure.
Yeah, he went 5 of 8. He's shooting 4 to 5 threes per game as of late. And I'm not saying Mo Bamba's going to hit 5 or 6 of those, but you have a better chance of finding success against Joel Embiid by just sitting at the 3-point line. And if he's willing to do that, that offers more upside, especially on DraftKings. And Embiid, arguably the most dominant defensive player in basketball, especially in the interior. But we've seen him, unless he's facing Towns or one of the elite 3-point shooting centers, he just kind of I've watched a lot. He just kind of lets them shoot, and so Bamba will get open looks from 3. Embiid's not going to chase him off the line.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And again, it's not like there was one giant performance propping up this number. It was 34.5 minutes, 47 and 3/4 DK points back in the end of November, right around Thanksgiving. Then 28 minutes, 38.5 DK right after New Year's, and then later in January, 29.5 minutes, 49 DK points. And again, those are all losses to Philly. Lost by 5, lost by 10, lost by 13. And again, the double-digit spread here. I'm not saying to lock Mo Bamba. I think he's just an 8 in the rankings, just so I don't want to just have people push all in on Mo Bamba, but he's just a really intriguing piece in tournaments tonight. And then the last thing I wanted to point out about Mo Bamba is the FanDuel price, where I would have a lot more interest in I probably am not locking him in 20 lineups over there, but I'm over 50% for sure at his 4-4 price tag, because to me, outside of having some sort of like 6 fouls in 14 minutes type of game here, it's really hard for Mo Bamba to disappoint at that price tag. So I like him a ton on FanDuel as well.
John Collins ruled out for Atlanta.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I had him in. I actually had some interest in John Collins, excuse me. So we will.
You should probably not play him now.
Yeah, we should. We will get to Atlanta in the next game, but Adam, outside of Mo Bamba, the rest of this team, really outside of Michael Carter-Williams and the guys like John Isaac, Bol, PJ Dozier, who have been out for months now, the rest of this team pretty healthy. So I don't really have any priorities or even many secondary plays that I like from this team outside of Bamba. Do you see it any differently?
No, I mean, Cole Anthony, feels like forever ago when he was like 8K and it was justifiable, but just the ceiling hasn't been there alongside Suggs. Now you add 17 to 20 minutes from Markelle Fultz. Wendell Carter Jr. has been the best and most consistent player on this team, double-doubling pretty much at will, but in a bad matchup, he's priced accordingly. Like, nobody really stands out. I will say, like, this team, they're not going to compete anytime soon, but they could be really fun next year if they get Jonathan Isaac back. I always forget about him.
Yeah, obviously we've talked about that kind of on the podcast a good bit, about probably more than almost any other podcast in the industry, talking about the Orlando Magic and how interested we are to see kind of how they manage the next year or two with all the young talent that they have, and obviously some high draft picks coming in the next couple years. Let's go ahead and jump to that Indiana and Atlanta game. Atlanta hosting this one, big favorites. Again, we have a lot of games that are double-digit spreads tonight. This is 237 implied total. 12.5-point favorites are the Hawks at home. Let's go ahead and start here with Atlanta. Obviously, projections, rankings, updates to come with the Collins out news. But we've seen, multiple games recently with John Collins out, so we shouldn't have to reach too far back to get a good handle on how to attack this team here. With him out in the front court, you've got Capella, 5'9", Danilo Gallinari at 4.5K on DraftKings, power forward only, and then Onyeka Okongwu, 3'2". Obviously, all three of those guys going to get various bumps up in their rates and their fantasy projections, minutes projections, etc. So looking at the Hawks, Adam, what stands out to you now that we have that news?
Yeah, it's interesting because when Okongwu, Capella, and Collins have all been healthy, we've seen Capella start and play a lot in the first half, and then the minutes would kind of, come down the second half, and he'd be maxed out at around 25, 26 minutes, which is what we saw last game. But there was a stretch, and to be fair, Okongwu was in the concussion protocol for some of it, but when Collins has been out, we've seen Capella play 32 to 33 minutes, and at under 6K, that makes him interesting. I mean, he's the same price as Mo Bamba on DraftKings, and I believe in Discord somebody asked if you preferred Bamba or Capella. And I think it's an interesting discussion now because we know Capella's rebounding rate is always going to be high, and I talk about this a lot with Atlanta, but they run so much pick and roll with Trae Young, and now that's pretty much all going to Clint Capella, and of course now Danilo Gallinari becomes more interesting. So John Collins being out obviously changes a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think if I were choosing, I think I would slightly lean Capella over Bamba. And, I think we can agree Bamba's got the ceiling. And while his minutes have been better lately, we saw a stretch where Mo Bamba was playing 25 minutes, which is what Capella's floor has been with Collins. So now with Collins out, and I know Bamba played 30-plus last game, but I think Capella's probably a little bit safer. Matchup's obviously better, but, yeah, you obviously have to feel better about him now with Collins out.
Yeah, no question about it. And this also is going to make me even more interested in Trae Young. He might get the bump up to a 10 here. We talked about the last time or the last stint that Collins had on the injury report about how high Trae Young's usage goes up with John Collins off the court. It's a little bit lower in like the last month and a half of a sample size rather than the whole season, but still a 35.1 usage rate for Trae Young in the 7 games that Collins has missed since the 1st of February. So
Yeah,
I like,
Shazam brings up that Okongwu was out for a bit while Collins was. Yeah, he was in the concussion protocol, but there was still plenty of games where it was just Capella.
yeah, there was actually since February 1st only 1 game that Collins sat that Okongwu also
Okay.
missed. He played in 6 of the 7. So yeah, for me, I think it's the interesting thing is it almost makes me like Mo Bamba more now because he's at the same price tag, and I think now the field is going to get a significant amount of not like a crazy amount of Capella, but he's going to pick up a number here in terms of ownership. So just I guess it doesn't make me like Mo Bamba more, but it makes me more confident that we're going to get him at an extremely low number for the shares that we do have. And Capella definitely in play. I think Okongwu now kind of fits into, because again, we wanted, or we don't, not that we want to, we've had a lot of success attacking Indiana over the last like 2 months and at all positions, really. So especially with Brogdon out on the other side, still a lot of Pacers news. We're waiting on Duarte, Stevenson, and the like. So I think just kind of up and down this Atlanta roster, I have interest starting with Trae Young, and then it's probably Okongwu who I would have the second most of, just because there's not a ton of sub 4K value on this slate. And Okongwu now kind of just in the conversation for me between him and JaVale McGee in the late night hammer that I think is an interesting value as well, but we'll get to McGee.
It's also not out of the possibility that Okongwu still closes over Capella. They've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, while you project Capella for more minutes, like, they'll probably they could easily split the center minutes. And obviously, you know, I don't think they'll play together much, if at all. But, like, I looked at the numbers. Obviously, in Atlanta, right, when you're playing with Trae Young, you want to find a matchup for the opposing center to be able to thrive in the pick and roll. And the Pacers are second worst field goal percentage, second worst points per possession allowed to the roll man. So it's a good spot, obviously. Plus, with how bad their defense has been since they pretty much lost everybody, it's obviously a great spot.
Yeah, no doubt. There's Joe in the chat saying projections are updated, so I will pull up that. I will refresh that sheet. Rankings being updated. So yeah, Jay, of course the ranks will be updated. You know how it goes down here. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Pacers side. Again, like I said, Adam, we are waiting on news still. Brogdon is out. Turner's still out. Obviously, the TJs and Rubio remain out, but we're waiting on Lance Stevenson and I believe Chris Duarte news, although on my last refresh here, he doesn't have the Q tag. He is questionable. So I have both of those guys in right now. The Pacers coming off the back-to-back big-time win over my Spurs last night. So looking at this team, Adam, Tyrese Halliburton, I think at 9K is a fine spend up today. I would much rather get to Devin Booker at a similar price, but, you know, I think Atlanta with their offense has been so good, and I think their defense is below average at best. So I don't have an issue getting to some Tyrese Halliburton, but I want to refresh here and take a look at the ownership on the Pacers. How are you looking at this team? Is it kind of Halliburton first, or are you waiting on the news and trying to attack value?
At the moment, it's probably Halliburton first. 27% assist rate is massive with Brogdon off the floor since joining this team. Mm-hmm. You know, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. I do agree. I would prefer Booker as well. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like with Lance and Duarte, and obviously, you know, McConnell hasn't been active. Like we could get some potential value, like we talked about. You know, Dwayne Washington Jr. could play. You know, he played 21 minutes last game. He could get up to 26, 27, or even if he plays 21 to 23, he could still be viable at 3,600 on a smaller slate. So, Buddy Hield's the one player where it's like not much is like. Obviously, he'd get more usage and more shots, but like 7,600 on DraftKings. Like, despite how many minutes he's played since joining the Pacers, and his peripherals, again, well, they're not going to ever be fantastic. They've been much better. I mean, he has 6, 8, 7, 9 assists, which is just kind of odd to see the last 4 games, but I feel like he's priced either too high or appropriately, depending on how you value him with the Pacers. And I don't think Brogdon being out changes much given his price. Like, Halliburton is always around that 8,500 to 9K range anyway. And he's just, his touches per game when he first joined the Pacers were like 90 plus, elite level. And with Brogdon out, you'd expect him to be around that range again.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Like, I think he's priced appropriately for cash and a little bit too expensive for tournaments for me, because I feel like the ceiling for Buddy at this point is like right at 50 in the perfect Buddy Hield game. And at 7'6", like the guard forward eligibility is nice, but I don't think I'm putting in the call for Buddy. Like, maybe last guy in, but I think I can spend 7.6K in multiple better ways on this slate. I guess before we move off this game, how about the front court? Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith, O'Shea Brissett, Goga Bitadze. Like, for me, they're all just kind of like guys that I would have small pieces of in a 150 build, and I don't think I'm getting there in 20, and certainly not taking a shot on any of those guys in a single entry.
Yeah, I think pretty much the rest of the season, most likely Jalen Smith will continue to be the most interesting for me. Because he's been really good on a permanent basis, whether he's been with Phoenix or since joining this team. And we've seen paths to him playing 27 to 30 minutes. Like, he's been 24, 28, 29, 37. The 37 game obviously came, I believe, with Isaiah Jackson either out or in foul trouble. But Isaiah Jackson just gets in foul trouble. And they don't really want to play Goga Bitadze, even if he's active, more than like 22 minutes, I would think. So, like, Jalen Smith has the ceiling, but again, with potentially everybody active, assuming Bitadze plays, it's not anything safe or anything to be too excited about. But overall, Jalen Smith will probably continue to be the most interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there on Jalen Smith, but and for good reason. He's the most expensive of those 4 guys, so I think all those prices pretty much correct for how I would order my interest in them. And again, I don't think I would get exposure to any of them in a 20 max build. Grizzlies OKC is the next game, and we just got some important news from the Thunder. Trey Mann is in, Aaron Wiggins out. So a lot to talk about here. Before we jump into that game, about a half hour until lock, I want to clear the chat of some questions that have built up over the last 15 minutes. Let's see. Josh saying, you okay with both Pels together? I assume he's talking about Jackson Hayes, Najee Marshall. Yes, absolutely. Jaywin saying, how much Graham, Marshall, and Hayes in 20? A lot. Let me think on that, Jaywin. I can give you some guesstimate numbers on where I would end up. Jay Cush asking, Schroeder questionable. Do we like Jalen Green or Eric Gordon at all? Obviously, we'll get to that game, but off the top of your head, if Schroeder were to sit, would that boost those guys up for you, Adam, where you would get them in lineups?
I mean, it doesn't hurt. Jalen Green's been playing much better at the last couple weeks. So like, I think Eric Gordon's only 4,100 now. So like, that obviously stands out more than Jalen Green, who's priced up because he's been playing better. But yeah, I think it doesn't hurt.
Jalen was asking, is there a team you'd want more than 4 players from in any one lineup? I will say an emphatic no on this slate.
Yeah.
If you were going to do something like that, just full on stack a team with 5 guys, it would be the Pelicans. But I don't think you need 5 today. And I think 4 might even be pushing it. If you were going to get 4, first it would be Pelicans. Then it might be a toss-up now between Thunder and Hawks, but Hawks with the slight lean there for me before diving back into OKC with this Wiggins news. Capella or Bamba on DraftKings? It's Bamba for me, HP cards, but like I said, Capella now comes into play where I didn't have really any interest when I thought Collins was in. How do you feel about that one, Adam? And there you go. Dennis Schroeder ruled out. There you go, Jake Kush.
Schroeder's absence probably impacts like Josh Christopher more than Jalen Green, you would think, right?
Christopher. I think KPJ also minutes a little bit more secure there at the point. Let's see. Josh saying, with all spend ups being nines, who would be your favorite two? Well, there's two spend ups, and I know that they're sub, or one of them is sub 10K, but Booker and Trae Young would be my two spend ups in a single entry right now. In 20, you'd want Mo Bamba from Orlando and no one else. Yeah, that's how I would attack it right now, J-Win. I would probably include Wendell, Cole Anthony, and Suggs at that price, but I don't think it's going to spit out any ownership on those guys. So let's go ahead and get into Memphis and OKC. Third straight game here in the game-by-game breakdown with a double-digit spread. Grizzlies 13.5-point road favorites. 229 implied total here, though. So let's go ahead and start with the visiting Grizzlies. We don't have confirmation that he's in yet, but Dillon Brooks, I think, expected to make his return to the Grizzlies today. And we don't have news yet on any sort of minutes limit.
He's gotta be.
I imagine there would be a pretty severe minutes limit for how bad the ankle turn was, the fact that that injury will take your conditioning away. And obviously he's been building back up, but I think they will, especially against this team, ease him in. But absent that news, I have Dillon Brooks as a very interesting tournament play, assuming that he gets full run. But again, you have to build with that in mind. So I think I would probably put an ownership cap on him of like 10 or 15% in my build, because I know that with 4 of the 5 games locking after this first one, including Memphis OKC, I'm going to be able to swap around, but I don't want to be caught with none if it's like, oh, there's no minutes limit on Dillon Brooks. He's starting. Right. I mean, this guy is over a fantasy point per minute player. He's a massive usage hog. Hasn't turned down a shot in his life.
That's what it really comes down to for me, because you have Ja at 10-4.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot's changed since January, mid-January, when Brooks went down.
Mm-hmm.
Ja Morant's taken over not just the Grizzlies, but the NBA. He's been one of the 5 best players in basketball probably this season. But over the course of the season, his usage rate drops by about 3.5% with Dillon Brooks on the floor. Dillon Brooks leads the team in usage rate when he's on the floor. It's 29.3%. And again, it's been a while since he's played, but he's also played. It's also a 587-minute sample size of him leading this team in usage when they've been at full strength. So, to your point, if Dillon Brooks, if we get word he's going to play 22 to 24 minutes at 4,900 on a smaller slate, we've seen Karis LeVert. Remember earlier in the year when he came back and he was injured and would come back and he'd be limited to 25 minutes, but he would take 18 shots in those 25. Dillon Brooks could take 18 shots in 22 minutes. Totally possible.
Yep. Especially against this team, right?
Right.
So
I think what it does to Ja is also, again, I don't think Ja's a bad play, but when we have point Devin Booker at 9,200, it's tough to go up to Ja, especially given the fact that that game's probably going to blow out and that Dillon Brooks will, command a lot of usage like he's done his entire career with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you mentioned Ja's price, the huge difference there between not just him and Dillon Brooks, but Ja and the rest of the team. I think he's fine. But now I'm starting, especially if Dillon Brooks is confirmed in, and now here we just get the news, game time decision is the official designation 25 minutes before lock here.
For Brooks?
Yeah, game time decision.
I wonder if they sit him one more game because they're playing the Thunder.
Yeah, but and again, this is my thought process was what better team to bring him back against.
That's a better point. And it's you don't have to worry about, because Dillon Brooks is probably their best perimeter defender. Mm-hmm. And it's you don't have to worry about him, you don't have to ask him to do much. Just have him go out and play 18, 23 minutes and just get conditioning right and make sure the ankle's good. Yeah, I think your point's even better. So, do they play tomorrow?
Let me check the schedule. I know
maybe it makes a difference,
tomorrow. But I don't think Ja was on the slate. So let me check the schedule just to make sure. There is no Memphis on the slate tomorrow, albeit 18 teams on the schedule. So I think with that, I'm fine getting to Ja. One lineup, 3 max, 20 max, 150. He obviously has the upside in any matchup this season, but I just think I'm going to prioritize some of the other spend ups. I would much rather get to Trae Young against the Pacers. And in this game on this team, I would rather get to Desmond Bane, save $4,000. I think you can take a shot on Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., but I'm I'm not super excited about it. He's just like, he's fine. The upside is obviously there. The low floor for Triple J is there in any matchup, and I don't think I have to go there with any volume tonight. Steven Adams was pretty interesting to me because I think
he's in the same range, right, as Capella and Bamba. I like the spot for Adams a lot. He's been have you seen his assists lately? Minus last game and the game before, it's been 5, 4, like every game 4 to 5 assists, and that adds up when you're getting 8 to 12 rebounds. Like the scoring, if you look at his game log, you can pretty comfortably tell which game was the outlier in terms of real points. But he's doing everything, and the Thunder have been awful against centers. They allow the most rebounds per game to centers. But I think for minutes, given this game as well, probably a higher ceiling for minutes for both Capella and Bamba. But I still think Adams is in play. Jaren Jackson Jr., I don't think there's always one player you just don't get right. I don't think I will ever get Jaren Jackson Jr. right.
Yeah, I know the feeling when trying to determine if you're going to roster Triple J or not.
And it's annoying too because like in a spot like this, right? Like last game, he had 5 blocks, but he didn't do anything else really. Still had 5 fouls. The Thunder, SGA, I believe, leads the NBA in drives per game. The Thunder as a team, because of that, are among the league leaders in drives per game. So you say, okay, should be plenty of shot blocking upside for Jaren Jackson Jr. But then you also say, okay, should be plenty of foul opportunities for Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and going back to Steven Adams, I just think he could get played off the court here, not because he's not good enough to stay out there with an Isaiah Roby or a Olivier Sarr, but like they have so many other guys that they can kind of go smaller and be more versatile against this team.
They want to play Triple J at the 5. Like it's not like they're like actively trying to not play him at the 5.
Yeah, and you can run obviously Brandon Clark at the 5 when you want to. Kyle Anderson can slide to the 4. So yeah, I can't get to Steven Adams. He would be third in Mo Bamba, Clint Capella, Steven Adams for me in that price range. And I'm not surprised if Slow-Mo, Brandon Clark, DeAnthony Melton, even Zaire Williams, I guess. If one of those guys has a score at the end of the night that we want in the lineups that may end up optimal, I'm not shocked. But I think the chance of that is low enough where I'm not getting to any of those guys for value. And I think I would probably rank it Melton, Clark, Slow-Mo in terms of those mid 4K guys. Tough to get to Slow-Mo when he could play 17 minutes. And at 4-4, he just doesn't jump off the page to me. D Leftchak, it's good to see you. Leftchak in the chat was asking Ja or SGA for single entry. So let's jump to the OKC side. The answer for me, Adam, is SGA and the massive usage that he sees with this current iteration of the Thunder rotation. The minutes are extremely secure too. It doesn't matter if they're getting blown out by 20, 25 points. He's been playing full minutes, and we saw him sit out, I think, the entire fourth quarter when they did get blown out by 30 by Minnesota last time out, but he played 31 minutes through 3 quarters, again, just to illustrate the minute security that he has. They got beat by 27 the game before by Milwaukee, and he played 35 minutes. I think maybe being on the road against Minnesota had something to do with that. It seems to me like Daigneault was playing SGA into the fourth quarters at home. We saw that against Milwaukee and Utah, 2 games they lost pretty handily. So I like SGA a good bit. He's still behind Trey for me. But Aaron Wiggins going out, further condenses this rotation where I think he's a fine spend up, and I would prefer him to Ja Morant.
I agree. Last 7 games, you look at the involvement for SGA, he's averaging 8.4 minutes of possession per game. Mm-hmm. Only Luka, Garland, and Trae Young averaging more possession time per game. Like the ball is just always in his hands. Mm-hmm. Touches per game are way up at 91 per game during that span. It's 4th in the league. Like he's just doing everything. And it's kind of weird because this time last year I was like, yeah, SJ, you're just not, we're not going to play you. And now with half their team out and obviously not in contention, like you said, he's closing fourth quarter games in games that aren't like all that close sometimes. So I like SJ quite a bit here, and it doesn't hurt that they haven't played since I believe the 9th. So they've had a couple days off now. So yeah, I would lean SJ over Ja as well. I mean, like their rotation's just going to be, again, it's going to be because Man's out, right?
Yeah, no, Man is in.
Man's available. Wiggins is out. Man's
correct.
in.
Correct.
So yeah, it's just those two are going to dominate the usage, and then Isaiah Roby's been playing well, but it's just SGA's show right now.
Yeah, I do not disagree. Elsewhere on this team, I do think you can get to some other pieces. The fact that Isaiah Roby has now picked up power forward eligibility again on DraftKings. I know he's 5'7", but this is a guy who's a fantasy point per minute player on the year. The matchup not great against Memphis, but we're seeing 30 plus minutes from Roby, 34, 37, and 36, 3 of his last 4 games, only 26 minutes in that blowout loss to Milwaukee on the 8th. But yeah, that power forward eligibility does wonders, I think, for Roby as a value on DraftKings, even at the 5'7" price tag. I like him a lot. And now I think you can mix in some Pokashevsky, some Darius Bazley. The minutes should be more secure for those two guys with Wiggins out of this rotation. I think Trey Mann, kind of the last guy that I want to take a shot on there at 5'5". I'm not going full Tenny D Trey Mann recommendation, but I think he's somebody that I would include in my player pool. And certainly in 150 lineups, I would take some shots on Trey Mann. We know he can fill it up and get you there almost on points alone on the right night. How are you looking at the rest of this Thunder team?
Yeah, same way as you. Like Dell mentioned in Discord, he likes Poku. I have no problem with Poku either, and that dual eligibility at small forward, power forward definitely doesn't hurt. Like you said, Trey Mann, 5,500 seems like about right, but his shot volume, even in games where he's played under 30 minutes, has been right around 15 per game. So you get him up to 32 potential minutes, and there's a lot of usage and volume there as well.
We'll go ahead and move on to Rockets at Pelicans, the last of this trio of games that lock at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I think where we're going to see the most ownership come in, at least on the Pelican side of this game. But let's start with Houston. Obviously, John Wall still out, but Dennis Schroeder going to miss this game, and Usman Garuba still sidelined for this team. Christian Wood is back, though, and I have some interest in getting to him in GPPs. Talk about another low-owned center play. Again, I don't think you have to play a ton of him. He's done fairly well against this team. 3 game sample size, 33 minutes per game, 39 DK on average in those 3 games for Christian Wood against this Pelicans team. Can't get the Şengün at the price with Wood back. I think KPJ is okay, but the price up into the high 6s now on DK. Same with Jalen Green up into the high 5Ks. It's kind of Christian Wood, Jayshawn Tate for me, Adam. And then I don't have a ton of other priorities. I think KPJ with Schroeder out would be my third option there. But how are you looking at Houston in a game that they're, I think significant underdogs here? Where is it? Yeah, 6.5 point road favorites in the Big Easy tonight.
Yeah, anytime Christian Wood's under 8K, I definitely have some interest, and that's the case again today. So I like the call there. Kevin Porter Jr. is like pretty safe at that price, but you have Devante Graham for a couple $100 cheaper, who we'll talk about on the other side of this game. I think you can, with Schroeder out, I think if you get to Eric Gordon or Josh Christopher at 42 and 4,100, perfectly fine with that. I have no problem. But the one player that's really it's tough to get to because of some of the situations is probably Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Let's jump to the Pelican side because I think we have more to discuss.
Yeah, is anything happening here?
Yeah, so I mean, you can look if you just pull up the team on DraftKings. 1, 2, 3, the top guys: CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and of course Zion Williamson out. Although I hope we get all 3 of those guys back soon.
We might.
Larry Nance Jr. still out for this team, of course. So we're going to get another value Pels day. The prices have moved significantly on some of these guys, not so much on others. JVal 8-3. I think I still prefer him to Christian Wood for $400 more. I don't say I shouldn't say I think. I do prefer Jonas Valanciunas to Christian Wood at that price point. Devante Graham up to 6-1, but I think still very much worth it. You can Herb Jones. You can Jose Alvarado. I would prefer Jose Alvarado coming off the bench to Herb Jones, I think, just for the discount. But my favorite 2 plays from this team, Adam, Najee Marshall at 4.6 should get into the low, maybe mid-30s in minutes here. Again, the game against Charlotte blew out, and a lot of these guys lost time in that blowout. Najee Marshall, not quite a fantasy point per minute player, but at 4.6 with the minutes projections that I have on him, I love him. And Jackson Hayes still power forward eligible. Kind of similar story there for him. Not quite a fantasy point per minute player on the year, but the power forward eligibility, the matchup, the minutes projection, those are my two favorite guys from this team. I would have a ton of those two today.
Yeah, obviously Devante Graham last game, 92 touches. Just like I don't even have to look at his season average to know it's just like probably 40 or 30 more touches per game than his season average. Like it was nice to see him show a little bit of a ceiling. Of course, it took the two best players in this team to be out, but that's the case again today. Yeah, like Herb Jones, I like as a player, but at 5,600, he probably has the safest projection for minutes on this team, to be honest. But he doesn't particularly still get usage because he's really known for defensive ability. And I also don't expect 8 assists again. Call me crazy. Joe Val's obviously really strong too. Like Joe Val, again, like you mentioned, that game blew out. Joe Val only played 25 minutes. But in those 25 minutes, he had 5 post-ups. His season average is just over 6. So if you give Joe Val his normal minutes, he could potentially get like 10 post-ups per game, which I think is probably what they want to do given the fact that Ingram and McCollum are out. So against Houston, who's not a good post-up defense, I would lean Joe Val over Christian Wood. I think as long as I think this game will stay close. Houston's been playing a little bit better lately. Obviously, the Pelicans are missing players. I like Joe Val a lot in this matchup, and I agree. Like for me, like if you can get to, I mean, you can easily get to him at 3,900. Jose Alvarado, like I just think he offers a little bit more ceiling, and he's only 3,900 than some of the other bench players in this team. So yeah, I would agree. It's Marshall, Graham, Joe Val, and then I'd probably go Alvarado. Again, if you get to Herb Jones as like a last player in, just somebody that you want, that you think is going to play 30-plus minutes, you're right. He's probably going to play 35 minutes if the game's close. So, but from that mindset, there's really nothing wrong with Herb Jones. I still worry about the overall ceiling.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. And I think, and Trey Murphy, somebody that I just want to reiterate, I would not play at 5K flat. Didn't play a ton in the first half, benefited from the blowout.
Yeah, he played the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, 12 for 20 from the field, 7 of 12. That is very much summer league Trey Murphy.
Yeah.
And why he was stuck on some of my best ball teams all year. But
and the thing with Alvarado, real quick, you can look at the minutes and say, oh, he probably played he only played the final 3 minutes of the game. So he still played around 18 minutes before the fourth quarter. So the game stays close. He can still play 23 to 25 minutes, and at 3,900, that's enough. So yeah, Trey Murphy literally played the entire fourth quarter. I'm glad you mentioned that. So did Jackson Hayes, interestingly enough. But yeah.
Let's jump into the last game here. I know there's a couple questions. We will leave some time at the end. We'll get through the late night hammer here, 9 p.m. Eastern, nationally televised, I believe, ESPN game. Lakers visiting division rival Phoenix, 230 implied total here with the Suns, 8.5-point favorites at home. Let's start with the visiting Lakers. I think it's pretty quick here, Adam. I think LeBron James is a fine spend up, 11-8 power forward. I've heard of him. Yeah, power forward center eligible, 3 straight games of 71 plus DraftKings points. I don't think we're going to see that tonight, but I do expect him to start at center again, and we know the upside increases when LeBron plays the 5. We've seen that over the last 2.5 months. I think that they've run that out periodically. So he's, again, not my favorite spend up in one lineup. I would be starting with Trae Young and Devin Booker on the other side of this game. We'll talk about him. But LeBron, by far my favorite play from the Lakers side. Always bringing the hot takes, Adam. Do you have anywhere else on this Lakers team that you can go?
Not really. And by the way, LeBron finally has 2 positions on DraftKings. Still doesn't have point guard. Like, I get it. He's been starting at center. Right? I get it. He's been starting at center lately, and I get he plays power forward. Mm-hmm. Still doesn't have point guard. I just think it's funny. But yeah, him starting at center is massive. Like in the games he's played without Anthony Davis, just whether he started at center or not, he's averaging around 8.5 rebounds per game, up from like 7 rebounds per game last time I looked. Mm-hmm. And we've seen a couple double-digit rebound games lately with him, and that just makes him so much safer than he already is because he's getting more rebounding opportunities on top of everything else he does, and then he's grabbing defensive rebounds. He doesn't have to go get the ball from somebody. The ball's already in his hands to run the offense. So yeah, LeBron's kind of in that mode where it's like, in the second half of the season, if the team he's on isn't performing well, it's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to do it myself. And LeBron's finally kind of reached that, especially with Davis out, reached that kind of mindset. And just I don't know. I don't know who the best player in basketball is. Every week, it's like somebody else has a ridiculous stretch, and it's like, oh, he's the best player in basketball.
Yeah.
Jokic has had that. Now LeBron's having it, and Embiid's had it. Luke, it's just I could go on about the talent the NBA has. It's stupid.
Maybe we'll have to expand on that on the pod this week.
I think it's a good one.
Is
We
there
could
a
just
best
say like,
basketball player right
I
now?
don't think there is. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, let's focus on the rest of this game here, but we'll mark that down to discuss tomorrow night or Tuesday. Feels like Monday. Jeez.
My birthday.
I can't Russell Westbrook tonight. 8-1 on DK. I guess I'm not gonna call you crazy if I see him in your lineup, but I might call you something else. Carmelo Anthony, THT, Malik Monk. Secondary plays at best for me. Austin Reeves has to enter the conversation. But as I was talking to Charge Up before the stream in the chat, I haven't been on the Austin Reeves train yet. I know he's been great. More than 24 DK points per game over his last 5, just about 30 minutes per in that span. But I don't think tonight against the Suns is where I'm jumping on the Austin Reeves train. But he would be my second favorite play from this Lakers team.
I think I agree.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move to the Phoenix side here. Devin Booker at 9-2, my favorite play on this team, maybe on the entire slate, kind of competing certainly with Trae Young up top, and then some of those Pelicans values in terms of importance for me, being priorities. Devin Booker, since the All-Star break, obviously no Chris Paul in that span, 1.39 DK points per minute, and only like kind of a pedestrian 28.6% usage rate in that time. I thought it would have been higher with how productive he's been from a fantasy standpoint.
Balances out with the jump and assist rate, though, you have to think.
Sure. Yeah, good point.
His assist rate with Paul off the floor is 18%. It's like 13% with Paul on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's massive considering he's still taking – he may not take 25 shots as consistently as he had been. He's still taking like 15 to 18 at worst.
Mm-hmm. So I see Winky in the chat saying, why do I love Booker so much? Because Payne has been doing a lot as well. And I love Payne. Payne's got a 9 in the rankings. And Josh was asking earlier if I was okay pairing those two. And I think
7-4 campaign. Here we are.
And he's a great play. Like we've seen
I'd rather play. I don't think they're not the same position, obviously, but like I would pay the elevated price tag for campaign in this role than the elevated price tag that we've seen since he joined the Pacers on Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and that's a great comparison right there. Campaign, I think a lot of us expected the production to fall off when Devin Booker came back, but 36 and 42 and 3/4 DK points for campaign, 31 and 37 minutes. So we haven't seen him quite hit that, 46-50 type DK point ceiling that he had hit in 2 of those 3 before Booker came back. But 7-4, I just think he's kind of priced appropriately with still some upside there if this game remains competitive and we see him get into the upper 30s in minutes. So I like campaign a good bit. And like I told Josh Wink, I think I would prefer to just have one of them, and I would lean to Devin Booker, but I don't think you can go wrong with either of them tonight. I would just prefer Booker if I'm choosing one. I do think you can pair them. I'm fine if you DeAndre Ayton, McCall Bridges, Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet, very much secondary plays for me. I think JaVale McGee is an interesting value. Tough that he takes up the center spot, but 3-5, JaVale needs 12 minutes to blow that price tag out of the water on the right night. So he's somebody that I would have in my build and probably have 2-3 shares of.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. We've seen so many slates where it's like, if you're not watching the game, you look at the Suns box score and you see JaVale McGee with what we saw in the Miami game. Like 11 and 15 and 16 minutes off the bench.
Let's go ahead and get to some of the questions here. Left Shack was saying, considering fading Devante Graham in single entry and playing Najee and Hayes, paying up at guard spots. Thoughts? That's, I think, exactly where I would be. Left Shack. Obviously, Graham, a great play, very solid play with upside tonight, especially in the matchup. But I would prioritize those other 2 guys that you are already doing and spend up again on Trae and Devin Booker. Pretty much giving away my single entry if I had one at this point. I think, Adam, would you Devante Graham or Isaiah Roby? It's still Devante Graham, but it's a lot closer than I think maybe at the start of the day I would have thought.
I agree.
And that's my guy Steelers fan, so shout out to him. Jay Wynn asking, would you be okay with all 3 Pels, Graham, Najee, and Hayes in a lineup? Absolutely. Those are the first 3 that I would put in. J-Val very close, I think, with Devante Graham there for me. Josh asking favorite forward at 6,400 on DK. Triple J is right there. I think I would rather Desmond Bane. He's got forward eligibility. If it's the power forward spot though, then Josh, it is Triple J.
I believe Josh literally asked the same question right after that, Bane or Triple J on DraftKings. So
oh, yeah, there you go. So yeah, I would Bane, and I don't think it's crazy if you Isaiah Roby'd over both of them, and just left the money on the table if you couldn't upgrade. I don't hate. I mean, we've seen the upside from Roby over the last couple weeks. Underrated? Jay underrated? Asking a 2v2 here. Capella and Bogdan or Tobias Harris, Steven Adams. So pairing the Hawks or going two guys that I think we kind of talked down a little bit in Harris and Adams. I think I lean slightly, as he said here, I lean slightly to the Hawks side, but how do you feel about those two pairings?
Yeah, I lean that side as well. And like position-wise, not a huge impact, but like when Bogdan's out there, he'll see more usage with Collins out. So
let's see. Anthony was asking 5,600 forward on DK. Where are you going? So that's going to be right under Roby. You've got Herb Jones there. That's very strong. Pokashevsky now. I like a good bit at 5'4". You could take shots on those Pacers guys like we talked about, but I think it's Herb number one, followed by Poku for me at that price.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about the ceiling, but he's with those minutes, he's not going to crush your lineup. If that game stays close, he can play 40 minutes. We've seen him play 40 minutes multiple times this year.
Sure. Payne and LeBron or Booker SGA? I think I lean slightly to the second, but that's both that would fall into the category of play both if you can for me. Obviously, I think left check's playing a single entry tonight.
Yeah, I lean the Booker side as well.
Let's see. Hugo asking how much Poku is too much. Probably more than like 25% for me, Hugo. In a 20 max. You could get away obviously with less than 150 and still be fine. How do you feel about that, Adam?
Yeah, I would say around 20-25% makes sense. I mean, like there's still some volatility, but again, we've seen him productive on a permanent basis, and the minutes are more consistent than they've been, obviously.
Pacers news coming in here, or not all of it, but some updates and some decisions. Lance and Goga out, so probably going to bump some of those front court pieces there a little bit. And Chris Duarte, game time decision. So no help there on Duarte. I think at this point I lean that he'll play, but we will see, and we should get that news before those 3 games lock at 7, but the slate is locked here. Philadelphia and Orlando getting ready to tip off. Let's do some ownership before we get out of here, Adam. What do you say?
Bamba.
Let's see. A lot of early.
Somebody pointed out in Discord too, like all 5 of these games could easily blow out.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Very easily. I honestly think the safest game is Houston-New Orleans. Like a Houston game is probably the safest to not blow out.
Yeah,
in my
Houston
opinion.
and New Orleans, both teams on each side of that. Let's see. Josh asking, how about Lindy? Isn't man's name too today? Yeah. What is it? Shazam. Lind Sanity. The Lindy 500. I can't Lindy Waters today. I don't even think I'm getting there in 150. Trey Mann back. That's a big usage difference. For the secondary pieces on the Thunder, Trey Mann being in there over Aaron Wiggins, excuse me. Here's some news for you, Adam. Bills announced they agreed to terms with Isaiah McKenzie on a 2-year contract.
Yes. Let's go. For some reason, I don't have TweetDeck open when we stream.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a good mood now. Now I just need Chandler Jones next.
There you go. I'm glad I could bring you.
Who's your quarterback going to be, buddy?
Fuck, man, I don't really care as long as we don't give up a bunch of picks for anybody. Like, I just don't think that's the way right now. I think it needs to be O-line and probably corner because I don't think they're getting Hayden back. Yeah, just build up. Like, they got the core on both sides of the ball. You need a little bit of help on the O-line, a little bit of bolstering on the defense, and the quarterback will come together eventually. You don't need to sell the farm for it. All right, pulling up the ownership here as I do, this being the $300K fadeaway, $100K to first on DraftKings, a $15 entry. I want to remind everybody that, number one, you've been tuned in the stream, almost 50 of you still here after lock. Hit that like button. Only 10 likes so far with 50 people here. Unacceptable, especially for free. You know, a lot of people do things for free. We give away the stream for free. Apparently people, we can get people to write up. Oh, Brenton, where's my... Brenton promised me that I was going to get free summaries in the Discord every 15 minutes today. Thought that was easy. Anyways, Adam, anybody out there that is catching this stream for free, like BKeen95 in the YouTube chat, who says, love you guys, not a member, but the info given for free is awesome. You join us for a month. Be keen. It's $49.99, but you can use the promo code FTNTV. It's all one word. It gets you 15% off that first month.
Plus,
that will get you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say. Plus, we just launched. If you're excited about baseball being back, we got the platinum deal where you get baseball and football. $99? You get Jeff Ratcliffe's rankings and articles and everything, and then Vlad's doing a ton of great stuff for baseball season. I'm doing baseball season, and I have to make sure I don't. That's going to be fun when baseball starts, when I type in team abbreviations and type half the NBA. That's going to be fun. But yeah, we're going to have, come. What are you waiting for? We got everything. We got two of our analysts competing for live finals this weekend.
Shout out Tenacious D Jones. Shout out Javi, a.k.a. JP Relezo 34. That's a sub here, I think. Be keen. If you just are a hoops guy, though, you can get in the NBA package. You're going to get access to the optimizer. It's got late swap capabilities. You get access to Kyle Murray and the team's player and ownership projections. Eddie and mine's ranks. You get access to the premium Discord. That's where we answer all the questions throughout the day, during the live stream, and throughout the slate. Get into some fun stuff after hours as well. You get access to all the tools here, your typical industry standards, your on-off splits, all that good stuff. Some of the unique tools as well that we have here, the game environment tool, advanced DVP, etc. You get some free snippets of that on Twitter. I know the other night the J Val and Rudy Gobert DVP screenshots were making their way around Twitter. So again, you can join up, $49.99 for that first month. Use the promo code FTNTV for 15% off. It's all one word. And cool thing about that is if you like what you see the first month, you stick with us, 15% discount continues on your subscription through the end of the NBA Finals. So come sign up. When you do, join the Discord, tag Adam and myself. Let us know you're here because we would love to have you, especially you, BKeen95. All right, Adam, you said Mo Bamba number 1.
Probably.
I wish it was Mo Bamba number 5, but it's Mo Bamba number 7.
Mo Bamba number 5 would have been amazing. By the way, he was not my guess for number 1. I was just saying Mo Bamba.
Okay, I got you. We'll reset then, and we can take my guy Mo Bamba out of it. So who's number 1 here?
There's only one game at 6, right? It's that game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's got to be Embiid, right?
Embiid number 1.
I feel like Harden's probably 2.
Harden number 3.
Okay, so I'll go Carter Jr.
Wendell Carter Jr. number 4. These are very condensed after Embiid, so
that's what I thought.
Super fair. I'll go ahead and give it to you, Adam.
Yeah,
Jalen Suggs number 2, 7.8
sub 5K, I guess. Yeah.
%. James Harden 7.45. Wendell Carter Jr. 6.5. Then you've got the Wagner brothers, Franz 6%, Mo Wagner 5.5, getting over Mo Bamba's 3.5%. So I'm not quite sure the thoughts there. I know Mo can, put his thing down when he gets the time. Didn't seem like the place. He's priced up a little bit. I think like 3.8, 3.9, something like that for Mo Wagner tonight. Cole Anthony 3%. Everybody else 3 or less. So again, not a ton of ownership here on this first game. Minuscule, actually. I kind of want to add it up and see because the vast majority of the ownership on this slate still to come. 71% total ownership on that first game. Let's see. Couple questions to finish it out. Yeah, Shazam says he hears the Steelers are in the Watson sweepstakes. I hope not. We just got rid of a quarterback that I couldn't like. Can we not get another one? And yes, I would like to get Malik for sure. Anthony says, need lessons on your sales pitch. I think I do okay. Yeah, it's okay. Just like the people who watch for free and, don't sign up for premium. It's okay. It's fine. You get by doing that. Jundo Rated asking on FanDuel, Ja and Bogdan or Trey Man LeBron? That's a tough one.
Think I lean LeBron.
I do as well. But I'm not a huge fan of either Bogdan or Trey Man. But yeah, I will take the second one. Hugo's saying any interest in Garrison Matthews as a low-owned dart with Dennis out?
He's 3,300.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like like the freeloaders, he's fine. I don't think I would have any in 20 lineups. I think I would rather get 30, maybe 30 plus minutes of Austin Reeves at 3.7.
Yeah, that's fair.
You might not have the $400 to go up there. So again, he's fine. Let's see. Anthony says he sent me the lineup last night. The one that he took down. Nice. I'll check that in a minute. Shazam. Jalen Smith season. Oh, that is one thing I need to. I'll get to that. We'll end the show here in a minute, and we'll update the ranks for the Indiana front court with Goga out, and Lance out, etc. We're going to but we'll look at Dwayne Washington, etc. Zach Ertz signed a 3-year deal with the Cardinals. So NFL news coming fast and furious on this NBA.
I can't wait. I like how I'm saying this like it's like I do anything else anyway.
Yeah.
I can't wait to sit at my laptop and my computer and my phone and my TV all week during free agency.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that like I have these ridiculous plans anyway.
Yeah, like we do anything different.
Yeah, like we leave the house. Like
D Left Jack says he'd rather Josh Christopher over Garrison for Houston value. How do you feel about that before we get out of here?
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's probably where I would lean.
There is a decent price difference on DraftKings. So like Christopher's 4.2 and Matthews is 3.3. So it's not like they're right next to each other though.
That's a good point. Yeah, Christopher priced up a little bit. All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for us. Obviously, that trio of games locks here in about 50 minutes. So we will be around in the Discord. I'll be updating the ranks as soon as we get off the air. Appreciate everybody tuning in on this Sunday, the Daylight Savings early stream. So I guess we got the early stream. I don't know. We pulled it all together, though. Appreciate you, Adam. Appreciate Thomas. For Adam, I'm Zach. Shout out Thomas. Good luck, everybody. And as always,
let's get these beans.